Sure. Here are some sample interview questions and answers related to dynamic NAT. Q. Can you explain what dynamic NAT is and how it works? A. Dynamic NAT is a method of network address translation, NAT, that allows a device with a private IP address to communicate with the Internet by mapping the private address to a public address from a pool of available addresses. When the device wants to initiate a connection to the Internet, it sends a request to the NAT device, which selects an available public address from the pool and establishes the connection using that address. This allows the device to communicate with the Internet, but it does not allow incoming connections from the Internet to reach the device. Q. How does dynamic NAT differ from static NAT? A. Static NAT is a type of NAT in which a fixed one-to-one mapping is established between a private IP address and a public IP address. This means that the same public address is always used to reach the same private address. Dynamic NAT, on the other hand, uses a pool of available public addresses and assigns a different address to each device as needed. This allows for more flexibility in the use of public addresses, but it also means that devices cannot be reached directly from the Internet. Q. Can you describe a scenario in which you might use dynamic NAT? A. One common scenario in which dynamic NAT might be used is when a company has a limited number of public IP addresses and needs to share them among a larger number of devices. For example, a company might have a block of 100 public IP addresses and a network with 1,000 devices that need Internet access. In this case, dynamic NAT can be used to allow the devices to share the available public addresses, while still protecting their privacy. Q. How do you configure dynamic NAT on a NAT device? A. To configure dynamic NAT on a NAT device, you typically need to specify the pool of available public addresses and the private addresses that should be allowed to use them. This can typically be done through the NAT device's configuration interface, which may be a web interface or a command line interface. You may also need to specify the protocol and port number that should be used for the NAT translations.